To the United Kingdom now, where President Uhuru Kenyatta has in the last hour or so met with British Prime Minister David Cameron on the sidelines of a key conference on Somalia. The two leaders pledged to deepen relationships between the two countries despite the earlier uncertainty following Uhuru's indictment by the ICC. At the conference, Kenya is pushing for the repatriation of Somali refugees in its territory to end the humanitarian crisis in the camps. President Uhuru Kenyatta says Kenya supports the timely return and resettlement of Somali refugees to their motherland as peace returns to the war-torn country. The president says it is untenable to have Somali refugees occupy a camp that carries a population larger than the third largest city in Kenya. Hundreds of Somali nationals living in the UK came out to the streets to demand what they call a just solution to the Somalia crisis. Our UK correspondent Otieno has the latest from the historic Lancaster House where the conference is taking place.
At least 55 countries and organizations gathered in London in a bid to chart ways of promoting peace, cohesion and economic growth in war-torn Somalia. Well, security is tight at the historical Lancaster House, where negotiations were held in the 60s that led to the end of colonial rule in Kenya. Incidentally, this is also the venue of the Somalia conference. The conference was co-hosted by Somalia's transitional government, led by President Sheikh Sharif Ahmed and the UK Prime Minister David Cameron. President Uhuru Kenyatta was in attendance, even as controversy brewed on United Kingdom's change of heart, as the UK government had vowed to make only essential contact with Kenya's fourth president, who's facing charges on crimes against humanity at the International Criminal Court. Outside the conference center, groups of Somalian nationals living in the United Kingdom held demonstrations, with each making their demands to the world leaders.
You don't have any credibility or knowledge to run a nation.
We support us, the Kenya as a, to support for, our troops, to stay, for the in Jubaland state. So we are against the Somalian President Hassan Sheikh to, to make divide and rule, for the Somalian community.
So we want to get peace and everything. We want to be part of Jubaland. You don't want to be Jubaland to be a part of Somalia.
I'm an activist with an organisation called Hands Off Somalia, and we're here because we utterly oppose any British involvement in Somalia. So we say, no to British involvement, no to the division of Somalia.
In a communique from the conference, the delegates agreed on a 7-point plan that will see 1. A handover of power from the transitional government to a united administration by August this year, provide more support for the African Union peacekeepers, increase humanitarian aid, and bring piracy suspects to book in countries away from Somalia. No fewer than 4 Somali presidents attended the conference, an indication that stability between regions within Somalia is still far from being achieved. Otieno reporting for KTN News at Lancaster House, London.
All right, now residents of Mogadishu in Somalia have largely welcomed the International Conference on Somalia, which is being co-hosted by the governments of Somalia and the United Kingdom. Now, some of the residents of the Mogadishu say they expect good results from the London meeting.
Well, others are hopeful that the conference will help improve security and the economy of the locals back in Somalia. There are, however, those who feel that the main responsibility for turning around the fortunes of Somalia ultimately lies with the Somalis. The conference was organized to garner international support for Somalia, which is trying to rebuild itself following decades of civil war.
Well, over 50 countries and organizations, including the United Nations and the IMF, have been invited to the conference. Somalia has in the last 1 year recorded positive gains, including the liberation by Somalia security forces backed by African Union mission troops of major towns and cities that were under the control of the Al-Shabaab terror group.